so much done without actually even playing a card.
And using
so
Mire
cool.
Keeper into Spirit Claws is not the greatest feeling in the world. This is just 4 mana Wild Growth.
Sure. It gets him up to be able to play the Nourish in the next turn, though, so it's not the worst case, but it's definitely not the ideal case scenario. And yeah, if you're able to get an early enough huge mana advantage, you can really make stuff happen. Dr. Hippie's hand, he has the ability to nourish for crystals with the first nourish, so he's expending cards for mana, and then he can expend mana for cards with the second nourish, and refill his hand right back up, and it's pretty sweet how 2 nourishes kind of just synergize with each other.
Yeah. And just the rest of the deck as well.
Oh yeah, just everything.
Just a strong card. This spot from Dr. Hippie, though, I think it's likely to get a little bit troubling. He has no way to answer this thing from below, and he doesn't really have a strong way to start answering the board pressure mounting. And Chansu's, with this turn 4 thing from below, is starting to signal a bit of a stronger hand that has some backup to this and try to tempo Dr. Hippie out of the game.
I think you're correct on that. I think Chansu wants the 5/5 on the field to try and make it as awkward as possible for Dr. Hippie to nourish here, because you could potentially hold the thing from below in your hand and then just totem pass and put no pressure out. Then Dr. Hippie has a free turn to nourish if he wants to. He can spend 5 mana nourishing with no consequence. But now he's given the choice, is playing nourish here worth taking potentially 8 damage from my opponent? And Dr. Hippie says that it is. And I have to agree with him. 8 damage isn't the most amount in the world, but it adds up over time, and it just makes you have to consciously think about that, and it makes it kind of risky to take certain lines of play.
And the nourish here also, just because the hand from Dr. Hippie is fairly dry, this lets Chansu know there's no answer in Dr. Hippie's hand. Thunderbluff Valiant, a card you usually want to couple with your hero power to get that immediate value. Here he knows Dr. Hippie has no answer. He's free to play this 3/6, and even at low immediate value, it's basically not getting killed.
I mean, he may have an answer. He just drew with Nourish, so there is the possibility that he could think that it can get answered. But I think what's in Chansu's mind right now is, if this gets answered, I get another free 5 damage.
That as well.
This is adding up. Because my opponent took this free turn to Nourish, they spent their entire turn and did not interact with my board at all. Let's just pile on threats. I already have Ragnaros at the top end. I am going to kill him on 8 if I keep this pressure plan up. And I like that game plan coming out from Chansu after identifying how the Nourish was used.
And this started with Thing from Below on turn 4.
Yeah,
Oftentimes, players just continue to invest into totems to make this a 0 mana card.
Yeah.
He forewent that to start the pressure.
And now Dr. Hippie has to see, how is he going to respond to this pressure? And with that swipe, that Thalnos threatens on the following turn to wipe out most of this board. So now I think he's just got to figure out, how does he set up for the swipe to be as powerful as possible on the next turn? Or is he thinking, how do I set up for Barongeddon?
It's looking like Barongeddon with this play.
Or is he just killing the Thunderbluff Valiant?
That's also really scary. I mean, you take 7 extra damage if you don't kill the Thunderbluff Valiant this turn.
But you clear the board. And now, he's not going to be able to clear the board on the next turn as easily, but he's taking a lot less damage in the immediate. So he's valuing his life total quite highly. He may be afraid of that Bloodlust that we see Chansu just actually drew. He's thinking, Chansu's playing really aggressively. This is weird. Why is he doing this? And the reason is because Chansu's got a Bloodlust Shaman with Ragnaros. And maybe those cards were in his hand.
And I mean, there's just really not much answer for Dr. Hippie either. The fact that his hand started so heavy in the early has kind of led him into these weird spots where I feel like he's going to have to take a big risk eventually.
Oh yeah, eventually. I thought he was going to do it last turn, but if he finds an innervate, he won't have to take a risk, right? So he has the ability to kind of like wiggle his way out of this situation without taking too many risks, or even just getting removing totems removes a lot of pressure off the board. You're not as afraid of Bloodlust any longer. And there's that innervate. That's huge.
That is so important right now. That's going to allow him to clear everything and isolate the Flame Tongue Totem.
Yeah.
And get his own 4/4.
And now he doesn't have to take any big risks. He's able to do this without having to risk just dying to Bloodlust or dying to other aggressive minions by just waiting a turn to try and set this up with Thalnos. So, yeah, Dr. Hippie playing towards his out, trying to play around Bloodlust.
That is a massive swipe right now. That is bye to all of the damage that Chansu just had. And that's a fairly weak one with the Maelstrom Portal, and Chansu, that's a nice pickup.
Can't even like Lightning Bolt. But yeah, thanks to the Azure Drake plus Maelstrom Portal, he can actually clear the Drake without Lightning Bolting. And the reason why you don't want to Lightning Bolt is because you'll overload yourself and you'll be unable to play Rag the next turn.
Right.
Druid has a really hard time dealing with Ragnaros, and getting it down on 8 and getting 8 damage to the face is pretty good when your opponent's at 15.
Yeah, usually one of the best ways to deal with Ragnaros is with your own Ragnaros.
Sure.
There's no Ragnaros in Dr. Hippie's build. It is focused towards the Yogg-Saron and fight against Shaman.
Yeah, it's focused on killing a bunch of small minions. There's not even a mulch in the build, so.
And with that Living Roots pickup, Baron Geddon's a full clear.
I think you take the full clear.
I would be very shocked if Dr. Hippie did not choose to clear this board right now.
And now the Rag's gonna come down, and either target the Rag hits is just huge for Chonsu.
It's a big deal right now. Either he's killing the 7-5, or he's taking away over half of Dr. Hippie's life. Either result is strong for Chonsu, and that's why Ragnaros has been such a big impact in just this tournament in general.
It really allows you to set up these situations like this where both outcomes are good. And that's what makes the card so insanely powerful. It gives you the ability to play this aggressive line of play.
That's a nice draw, I think, from Dr. Hippie, though, because if you look at this Ragnaros, he cannot let it hit his face. Right now, one of his main goals, I think, is to have a big board spin happen, and he has no damage, spell damage in hand to utilize with the Malagos, plus the threat of Hex that's on the back of this. With Azure Drake and Mire Keeper, he can try to extend onto the board, have Ragnaros not hit him in the face, and maybe rely on Yogg-Saron to get that big board swing, because right now, otherwise, it's looking fairly bad.
That's true. Arcane Giant picked up. I think you wait on it. I think you're right. You have to get this Yogg swing, but if you do stabilize the Arcane Giant, that does potentially, if Rag hits you in the face, give you the ability to swing back with just a lethal. He's going for it.
Yeah, he's fueling not only into the Yogg, but into the Arcane Giant here. And this is actually a really smart hedge from Dr. Hippie. It looks really strange to Wild Growth on turn 9, but he's fueling up the Yogg-Saron. So if Arcane Giant gets handled here, and say Feral Spirits or just more minions came out from Chonsu's side, he's got the Yogg-Saron to back up. If everything goes awry, he's got a slightly better Yogg-Saron, and he doesn't need that extra card is what he's thinking.
Makes sense. We'll have to see where Ragnaros decides to take this game. And
soften up to the gods.
Chonsu's all in on this board. Double Feral Spirits.
Oh,
and he gets the face shot, so Yogg-Saron may be just killing Dr. Hippie's own Arcane Giant. That's absolutely huge.
That's a big deal right now. All the Feral Spirits are protecting the Ragnaros.
Yeah.
Dr. Hippie does not have a way to push through this.
He basically has to play Yogg and kill his own Arcane Giant.
The other alternative is to Raven Idol and try to get Starfall.
Oh, Starfall would be insane.
Is that a better chance than the Yogg-Saron is?
Can you win if Yogg-Saron kills your own giant?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm very glad. Dr. Hippie's got the smile. It's Yogg-Saron! All right.
Spell power Yogg-Saron as well.
Flame Lance.
Okay.
That trajectory scared me for a moment there.
It looked like the giant was going down.
Time's burning out too. He needs some more help. Freezing Trap's not gonna do it.
Oh, Excavated Evil.
That's clearing, I'll tell you what, if Arcane Giant can attack, it can kill that Ragnaros. Conceals the board.
Wow.
And the Freezing Trap is down. Dr. Hippie has 14 concealed damage. A Freezing Trap is at 5, and Chonsu doesn't draw damage to kill Dr. Hippie.
He can still buy a turn. He can use the Healing Wave. He can buy an additional turn to try and look for the second Lightning Bolt. Or potentially Azure Drake and then roll Spell Power Totem in this Lightning Bolt. Oh no, because Dr. Hippie will Hero Power up.
Loses the Joust.
It's only going to be 7 healing instead of 14.
Now, there is only 13 damage available from Dr. Hippie, so Chonsu does have another turn to draw damage. With that totem roll, he's got to think now, too. Lightning Bolt will give him an opportunity to get Stone Tusk from Maelstrom Portal. Tiny little itty-bitty things like that
can matter.
Swipe enough? 5 plus 11, that's 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 damage available for Dr. Hippie. If this draws cheap damage, that's game.
That's game.
Wow.
That was close.
22 is coming in from Dr. Hippie.
Dr. Hippie's lineup is designed to be favorable against Shaman. He really wants to be able to stack up a few wins against this Shaman.
Yep. He's thinking he's miscounting it, but he's counting the swipe still as 4 in his head right now.
He attacked with the hero. He can't hero power anymore.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh. He attacked with the weapon too quickly before hero powering. It's a missed lethal.
Is that gonna cost Dr. Hippie this game?
It could cost him the game. Chansu has the ability to top deck a lightning bolt.
And now he also has the ability to draw a Spirit Clause and roll a Spell Power totem. Dr. Hippie, and you can see it in his face, that is potentially massive. The draw is not there from Chansu though.
Oh, you can see it.
Can he live another turn? No, just
he can't live
Chansu
another
no
turn.
swipes there. He's got a no swipes
Yeah,
there.
Chansu.
Yeah. Dr. Hippie gonna even up the series, but you can see Dr. Hippie
He's
know
stressed out.
the pressure is getting to him at this stage. That was a very quick action at the end, and when he realized it, it was too late. And you know firsthand what it's like being in that booth. When all the pressure, all the money, and everyone's watching.
It's tough. It gets real scary real quick, especially when the crowd's cheering. The whole stage is kind of shaking. The excitement's going on, and you're like, yes, I'm gonna win. And
oh no! We'll find out if he can calm himself down. It's a tied series. Who's gonna break it? Game number 3 after this.
Night falls once more, and soon the shadows shall rise again. It is time.
The future is ours. The future.
So you're back? Again?
Again.
Nice hair.
That's fair. You too?
No mohawk? No?
No.
It looked really good.
I don't think so.
Future is ours.
Your enemy spawns a terror.
So, I drew you because I was a big fan of you when you won. I was happy that you qualified.
Thank you.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It is.
Can you sign it for me?
Yes.
Okay. In white.
Bought.
Dr. Hippie, XD.
Здравствуйте, меня зовут Артем, я из Украины. Будете болеть за меня на чемпионате мира.
A much different side of Dr. Hippie. He's got a playful personality, but when it's game time,
he gets focused. Yeah, oftentimes, before this tournament, the only times I've really interacted with Dr. Hippie was in Twitch chat. He's just a regular guy, viewing some streams. and memeing along with everybody else.
He loves them.
Yeah,
He's got a PhD in that. That's what the doctor's for.
exactly.
One apiece. Druid wins on both sides. We've seen a lot of Druids struggling in some of these sets. With wins on both sides of this, this is about as close as it gets, because Druid oftentimes is operating on its own game plan and just trying to push the opponent out towards the late stages.
Yeah.
Now the battle really begins.
Can't wait to see it unfold. We have the Shaman from Chansu queuing back up against the Tempo Mage from Dr. Hippie.
Tempo Mage, of course, is a quicker deck. But in the Shaman matchup, there's a lot more to think about than just the relenting pressure that you can apply. It is oftentimes about answering everything from the Shaman so that they don't snowball the board out of control. And with a double Tunnel Trog opener, Chansu, that's a pretty good start.
That's a snowbally start that could get out of control very quickly, especially if Totem Golem was acquired. One of the things I kind of want to talk about in this matchup in particular is that Dr. Hippie is playing Tempo Mage, which oftentimes has a potential win condition of burning over the top against the Shaman, just going all face at some point. The Shaman usually never runs heal. Well, Chansu's Shaman has a healing wave in it, so that removes a potential game plan from Dr. Hippie. So just by the inclusion of that card, Chansu knows Dr. Hippie will lean more towards a value game over the course of this match.
Yes, and that's not necessarily a bad thing for Dr. Hippie, because the top end of a lot of the mage builds have been reliant on Ragnaros and Firelands Portal. Dr. Hippie has Archmage Antonidas.
Yeah, he's shifted the tech with it, so it's kind of interesting how the two tech shifts line up with each other, and it seems like Chansu took one level up in tech over opening week, and then Dr. Hippie's just on the next level of metagaming there. Just tons of crazy mind games with deck choice.
Chansu gotta be a little unhappy to see a second Babbling Book. It's just, when it's a value game, every extra card your opponent's getting and something they're doing something else with, just making it that much harder.
Especially when it's a Blizzard against a Shaman. That is a crazy card against Shaman.
Yeah, that's a situation where it's gonna be nearly impossible for Chansu to actually pull a read here. From cards like Babbling.
Sure, not for a while anyway.
Yeah.
After he's seen the card sit there for a really long time, he's like, okay, maybe that's AoE. Or it could just be shattered. Like, it's so hard to really pinpoint that card and figure out how to play around it accordingly. So I wouldn't be surprised if this Blizzard is even more effective than if Dr. Hippie were just running Blizzard in his deck.
Right. Being able to account for it is certainly a lot different than suddenly Blizzard.
It's one of the reasons why Babbling Book is a lot more powerful in this specific format. When the decks are both revealed, you are now putting a card in your deck that your opponent has no idea what it is, which is kind of increasing the power level of it slightly.
Yeah, Barnes just pulling an Azure Drake here. Totally reasonable for Chansu. Every piece of spell damage on the board helps keep Spirit Claws active, bigger Maelstrom Portals. Just extra things to do. Barnes is a really unique choice in his build as well, because it's not like super strong. It's just overall solid value.
Yeah, he's only got one mana tide in there. And Ragnaros is pretty good.
That's what you get.
That's about the best one you can get, but... And one of the big things with Barnes that's kind of cool is if you're able to pull a totem, you actually discount the cost of your thing from below, which is why a lot of players have started to use it in Shaman. Just getting that thing from below down to 0 is so important for those big tempo swings later on in the match.
No current way to actually take advantage of the board state for Chansu. He's got a lot of little things, but this is a spot where Flame Tongue Totem would have been massive. And Dr. Hippie right now is kind of praying he doesn't see Flame Tongue Totem on this board.
Yeah, exactly. It would allow such clean trades, but even without Flame Tongue, just the Spirit Claws allows Chansu to remove this Azure Drake for the cost of 4 life and a 1/1 and just, you know, a weapon charge. So he could potentially tempo out this Thunderbluff Valiant, which we've seen him do in the past, if he gets a read that the situation kind of requires that. Or he could take a little bit slower route and maybe just totem. And this is kind of it'll be telling what's Chansu's in his head, what's his game plan for the match. Is he going value? Is he going aggressive? And this kind of indicates that right here, if you Thunderbluff Valiant or if you totem. And he's going to totem. He's committing to playing this slow. He's committing to going for value. And
I mean, that's necessary at this point, too. If he risks the Thunder Bluff here, he's losing all this time he's spent investing into these totems, and he's not getting immediate value. One Fireball from Dr. Hippie will pull that potential away.
Yeah.
The 3 damage that's incoming from Barnes, he's making progress, but it's not enough to justify a big risk with Thunder Bluff here.
Yeah, he doesn't have the follow-up to it. Like before when we saw him risk the Thunder Bluff, he had Rag in his hand already. He had the big damage card. And this time it's just not the case. He has the reactionary tools.
Yeah, but Dr. Hippie, with the Blizzard in hand, how much is this affecting his game plan right now? Because normally the value game is, again, kind of piece by piece. You go 1 for 1 and keep the Shaman at bay. With a big AoE spell and an extra one at that.
Well, you gotta be
headed?
afraid.
His hand's kind of weak right now, honestly. He's got a lot of tools, but they're not really functioning on this board very well.
You gotta be afraid of Bloodlust at any stage here. So Dr. Hippie, just with a Fireball ping, wants to try some minions off the board, but
Doesn't kill the Blood Mage here.
that's very interesting, yeah.
Is his read on this that Chansu's hand is so weak that he doesn't want him to have an extra card right now and try to get pressure?
I think he thinks Chansu's...
Fireball the Barnes.
Yeah, he thinks Chansu's out of minions because the previous turn, Chansu totem passed with 5 mana. So he's thinking, all right, you don't have any minions. I'll just Fireball your only minion and not let you cycle down those for a card, and then you'll just keep this mediocre pressure, and I can deal with this mediocre pressure.
And now it's not so mediocre.
No,
and
it's
that's
not.
one of the reasons that Chansu included this tech choice. Flame Wreath Faceless largely fell out of favor because it was too difficult to get active against decks that were quick and fighting for the board really hard. In situations like this where your opponent's just trying to kill all your cards 1 for 1, the massive stat value of that single card makes a big difference.
Exactly, and you kind of force a value game by including a heal spell in your deck and your opponent knowing there's a heal spell, so then you expect them to kind of lean towards a grindy game, and then you include Flaming Faceless in your deck to punish them for that. It's kind of like a
Back and
1-2
forth.
punch.
Just back and forth the whole time.
Dawn
Yeah.
has come, heroes, and
Really
with
cool
it,
tech
my
choice.
children must rest.
The hand, though, for Dr. Hippie.
Harvest the re-
That Arcane Intellect's going to need to do some work because he's
Going for
running
the
out of
spell
tools.
power. Chansu was really hoping to hit the spell power there so he could clear the Mana Worm without using Lightning Bolt. So he would be unoverloaded for the Ragnaros turn, but now he's settling to just using the Lightning Bolt, getting overloaded, and while you're overloaded, might as well get the Totem Golem developed.
The Totem Golem here is kind of interesting to me because this overloads him for 2, and that shuts off the Thunder Bluff Valiant next turn.
He's kind of committed to, I guess, not wanting to do that.
He's looking more towards the Hex next turn to just deal with a single big threat from Dr. Hippie, which at this point I imagine he's thinking in the vein of Firelands Portal.
Sure. Firelands Portal is very reasonable when you have a 7/5 on the field.
Yep.
So he's setting himself up to hex whatever, Dr. Hippie Firelands Portal's out on this Flame Wreath Faceless.
Yep, it'll be alternate game plan for Dr. Hippie. Yep, Forgotten Torch and Hero Power answering the 7/5. The slow grind continues.
So I think Chansu can reasonably assume that there's no Firelands Portal in the hand of Dr. Hippie.
Absolutely. Perhaps no Flame Strike as well, even though it would have left up a 7/1. Yeah, probably not taking 7 damage.
Yeah. Bloodlust doesn't accomplish too much here.
And honestly, this was kind of the worst board state that could have happened for Chansu, because now if he wants to fight against this with Feral Spirit, Ragnaros once again is delayed.
Yeah, so he's kind of forced into maybe... Do you ever just take a low value hex, a tempo hex, if you will, to try and set up for the Ragnaros the next turn?
I don't know if you do. And the 2 major things I'm thinking right now is, number 1, if Dr. Hippie just draws a strong minion.
Sure.
Number 2, if Archmage Antonidas gets through.
Yeah, it just
Those are
it
game-losing
deviates
spots.
so much from your game plan that you've been building up this whole game. So yeah, I like just kind of delaying the Rag again. You're forced to have to do it, and settling for maybe going for Thunder Bluff the following turn.
And with a fairly weak turn of board development, Dr. Hippie's kind of free to draw these cards.
Sure. He's got to find Flame Strike pretty soon, though, because he's also now spending a lot of time developing his hand rather than developing the board, and it could get out of control quite quickly.
I don't know if he can afford to use the second Arcane Ant this turn.
I think he should just...
He's going to go for it. I mean, I guess he's not really cutting into that much pressure, so it doesn't really make too much sense.
The scary part is the Bloodlust potential.
Yeah.
That's the real scary part. Your opponent's been sitting there with a lot of cards in their hand throughout the course of this game. They could get a lot of damage out of nowhere.
And the no mirror image here is largely in part a fear of Lightning Storm and Maelstrom Portal.
And saving it for Flame Waker as well.
Because the Mana Worm's done enough.
most likely gonna die.
So that's a big opening now for Chansu. Chansu says, Flame Strike's not even gonna kill my Thunderbluff Valiant here. I don't know about that. I'm feeling it for Dr. Hippie. This is looking really bad all of a sudden.
Let's see. I think you trade the totem into the Mana Worm still just to play around the AoE. The board
Absolutely.
is so susceptible to AoE that it's much more valuable to have a Spirit Claws equipped than to have an extra 2/2 on the board, because you just expect the answer to this to be AoE.
And now Dr. Hippie has to worry about Bloodlust for basically the rest of the game. He's starting to get towards that range where Bloodlust plus basically any damage will threaten lethal.
Exactly. And Mirror Images are not a great taunt to stop, you know, a Shaman board, just because Lightning Storm, Maelstrom, Portal with Spell Power, they have so many ways to clear 0/2 taunt minions.
And the Polymorph Boar takes away the Thunderbluff's effect, but it's already gotten 6 immediate power, and it's still a 4/2 if you Polymorph Boar it. So that's not even a real answer to this.
No, it's not. And he's going to be playing the Mirror Images here. How much damage is the Lightning Storm plus the Bloodlust plus the Hero Power?
8, 9, plus
That's
9
lethal.
plus 12, 21 plus 3 from hand. That's a lot of damage. Chansu just slow and steady wins the race for Chansu here. Dr. Hippie never able to have a significant enough swing turn to stabilize the board position.
Yeah, Dr. Hippie got a little fortunate to find the Blizzard off the Babbling Book, but he still just got grinded out. So many cheap spells in this Tempo Mage build, and Chansu kind of identified that and played a slow, grindy game plan, and that's what allowed him to win the game.
And the tech choice came into play this game with the Flame Wreath Faceless having just an extra big card against a deck that's trying to kill your resources 1-for-1 with cheap effective spells meant that Dr. Hippie was playing from behind. Just very strong choices from Chansu. Dr. Hippie now down 2-1. Game number 4 coming up right after this.
It's over for now, but don't get too comfortable. The infested will return again.
The Hearthstone World Championship is sponsored in part by Intel, T-Mobile, NVIDIA, and Republic of Gamers.
Keep destroyed. Well done. Your enemy's terror is real. Your terror is calm.
Purification.
Just when it was getting
Do you think that Korea as a region in competitive Hearthstone is the strongest region?
가장 센 리저는 아니지만 두 번째는 되는 것 같아요.
Then what's first?
유럽,
Why do you think Europe is so good?
타이즈가 있으니까.
Just ties?
예,
Do you think that the other regions are close, or do you think that Korea might have an edge over, say, China or the Americas?
이유가 특별히 높은 곳은 아니라고 생각하는데 이번에 다들 들고 온 덱들 보면은
That hero must be
생각의
taken out.
수준들이 비슷하다고
and soon.
생각해요. 다른 지역들도 거기에 뒤처지지 않는다고 생각합니다.
Have you thought about playing on the big stage at BlizzCon in front of a lot of people?
그게 가장 걱정돼요. 제가 긴장할 것 같아가지고
What are you going to buy with the money?
일단 빚 갚아야죠. 저희 부모님 집.
With honor, I lead.
And that's what they're playing for right there.
I got one of those at home.
It's not just a trophy, it's a title. It's prestige.
Yeah, it's
$250,000 to first.
the start of an epic esports adventure.
And it starts with game number 4. Chonsu up 2-1. Dr. Hippie last game struggling to close versus the Shaman. And that's just Shaman. That's a strong deck, and Chonsu piloted it very well. Just very slow, not being over-aggressive, not overstepping his bounds. And I'll tell you, the pressure is just building every single game. One step closer to that finals. One step closer to that championship.
Yeah, and a lot of the pressure really boils down to the fact that Hippie teched against Shaman. All of his decks are slightly favored against Shaman, and he was really hoping to, farm it for a few wins. He got 1 win against the Shaman, but, the deck you tech against, you do not want to go 1-1 against.
No.
You want to get at least a couple wins under your belt, but he didn't fully commit to teching against it. He just added, 1 or 2 cards to help that matchup. But he overall has pretty well-rounded decks, so he's by no means out of the series yet. He's just at a slight disadvantage going forward, and Chonsu may be able to capitalize on that.
Game number 4, Chonsu on Dragon Warrior against Dr. Hippie with the Zoo Warlock.